Hey, Richard, congratulations. George in Switzerland, congratulations. This is a great day. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you live, but that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Nice to see you, Mike. Regina's here too, so she's going to be talking about her harping and her the parts that she's created for the CD.
And congratulations, Regina.
Well, Mike, we've been friends for over 12 years, maybe. And when we met, I found out that you lived a lot right near where the place where I love to go around Cape Nettic in the shore of Maine. And I go up there every summer and I write. And during the making of this CD, a lot of it was written from right by Nubble Lighthouse. And at some point during the process of the song making, I just had this idea that a cover with the coast of Maine, or with the dawning of the sun coming up over the waters, would be a nice cover. And George and I had discussed it because we didn't quite have a sense yet. And I thought, well, let me ask my friend Mike. He's to paint something that would work. And I remember one morning, I think it was somewhere in all of 2021 or 20, I was visiting him and I left at dawn and I took a few pictures of that area near where you live, near the Nubble Lighthouse. And I think actually it was on Long Sands Beach with the view from there. And then I shared it with you, and I just sort of asked you, Mike, do you think you could do this? And I think you said, yeah, I'd love to, because you were painting a lot at the time. So why don't you tell me how that process was for you?
Well, I did love not only the idea, but the photos you sent were just lovely. I love dawn. I love the early morning. I'm not always there to see it, but and then you sent me pictures of the comet, and I started doing research. What was the angle of the comets? On that, in that time period, and where would it have been in the horizon? And I just, I painted and painted and painted. There are so many layers and so many changes in the painting, as always, because I really never know how it's going to go. But always with you in mind. And that's the other thing, Richard. I'm skipping around a little bit, but when I heard the CD for the first time, I thought, well, this is Richard's soul. This is like a self-portrait, a memoir, but more than that, it's the inner Richard. And I think George brought that out with his music, but the story, the history of your lyrics, like I said, it's you. It's the you that I've never quite gotten to know, and it's just lovely.
Thank you, Mike.
So the painting was sort of heading in that direction. This is Richard. I'm painting Richard, and I remember I finished it on December 31st, because you were coming up to celebrate New Year's Eve.
Oh, right.
So I was able to give it to you. I'm going to say now too, I'm at a friend's in Rockland, Maine. I'm on Dodge Mountain in Rockland, Maine. It's part of the Camden Hills. The fog will be lifting, but it's just so gorgeous here. But the Wi-Fi isn't particularly strong. So if we're breaking up a little bit, that's the reason. Hello, George.
Yeah, I have written Neowise, the comet, when I was up in the cottage that year because it literally was flying overhead for 3 days in early July. And I'm really into comets in the sky, and I'm right there by the lighthouse. So uh, that meant a lot to me to be able to write it there, and uh, and then to send it to George, who created such a beautiful music with it. And yeah, it all came together. It really did. Your painting, the dawn. Um, how did you go about it every day? You just sort of add layers and painting.
Yeah. Uh, I keep painting water, and it's and in doing so, I keep learning more about water. I learn more about waves and the quality of waves coming into shore has a great deal of power in establishing a mood, a tone. If they're evenly spaced, there's nothing better. It's like a mother's heartbeat. Uh,
Um,
and in this painting, I think I discovered the quiet, the peacefulness of this dawn, with the evenness of the waves coming in, um, and that gorgeous orange light in the low sky that reflects in the foreground on the sand that's just been uncovered by a retreating wave. The sand was orange. And
wow.
and one day I discovered that when the paint was not quite dry, I could take my knife. I work only with knives. I don't use brushes, but I could take my littlest pointed knife and I could nick the sky, nick, 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 and make these minuscule stars. So I just got carried away. Nick, nick, nick. And I thought, well, where would the Big Dipper be on a night like a morning like this? And okay, right there, right there, right there. And then there were two other brighter stars in that morning sky. I can't remember what they are, but uh, I put them in there, and the stars became an obsession. Well, there are not enough stars. I'm going to make, but it was all done in the same space of maybe an hour when the paint just allowed itself to be nicked like that.
Wow. I've heard that was the process that Andrew Wyeth used. He would
Scratching.
peel back, he would scratch back to get some whiteness into his
Yeah, well,
paintings.
I'm like reinventing the wheel, rediscovering the wheel whenever I start doing this, and a lot of it has to do with the consistency of the paint as it dries. You know,
Mhm.
uh, I I'm having an education that I am really really loving.
What you said about, capturing part of me, uh, I had this image in my head of the whole scene, because I took a photograph of it, but the difference between a photograph and a painting is like night and day. And what you had transformed it into was almost a snapshot of part of who I am, or what I was trying to represent as a spirit of the album itself. And the word dawning comes up in a lot of songs. It just actually does. I had thought the title was going to be The Dawning, and George said, no, 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 Richard, it can't be that obvious. We have to go, it has to be something other than dawning, because this is the dawning. And we had our own little wrestling match about how to come up with the title that we did. But what I wanted to do is show everybody the actual painting, because you did give it to me that New Year's Eve for a gift. And I didn't know that was going to happen. I honestly didn't. I did not expect that at all. And I want to show everybody the actual painting. And here it is.
If you go there, there's that bottom, the sand that I liked so much. Yeah. Yeah, I've given away 4 paintings, I think, to my closest friends, and when I've done that, it really I really work hard on those paintings, because I've got not a lot, but I've got quite a few paintings that just they didn't come out the way I'd hoped. I didn't want this to be one of those paintings because I was going to give it away to you, and it was going to be part of this creation, this creation that I'm part of.
Yes, you indeed are. You and Richard were the first 2 that I ran by every rough cut of the song. As George would make it, I would send it off to you and Richard, and you would give me your feedback.
Oh, it just occurs to me,
which we greatly appreciated.
Oh, Richard, can I tell the Gypsy Rose story?
Yes, the Gypsy Sweetheart.
Yeah, sorry. There's another in the town of Algonquin, Maine, which is a seaside community. Richard and Elizabeth were visiting. We'd been up to Portland, Maine, to the 3 of us, to see the Maine fringe, a couple of small plays. One of them was mine, I think, in Portland. So we'd been up to see the play, and then driving home, we talked, well, where do you want to eat? And Elizabeth said, let's eat outside somewhere. And the only place at the time I could think of was a place I rarely went to. There was a deck upstairs at this place called Gypsy Rose. So I said, well, there's Gypsy Rose. I don't really know much about it. But we went up there, and the deck was full. So we walked into the bar, which was a very small bar. There were only a couple of seats available. And as we walked in, I heard someone say, Richard. And Richard turned and said, what was his name?
Tony.
Tony. Richard said, Tony. And they embraced. And the bartender, whose name was Max, I said, what's going on? And Max said, is that Richard Cambridge? And I said, yeah. And well, turns out that Richard's poem, Gypsy Sweetheart, has been framed in their dining room for years. Richard never told me this. And that's probably a story, that Richard might want to get into at another time. But I thought, who is this man, Richard Cambridge, that he's been here and left his mark?
Yeah, that actually was the magical poem, or that started it. I had, yes, that was one of the poems I sent to George as a way of thanking him for the recording of John Barleycorn. And he had then written back and said, do you mind if I try my hand at making this a song? And that's sort of what happened. That's how there's Tom.
Hello, Tom. Hi, Tom. Tom stays at our house sometimes in Maine, climbs our trees.
He's also in the cover, in the CD booklet with um, but yeah, and that's sort of what started it off. George asked if he could make it into a song, and 3 days later, I get this recording, and it's absolutely beautiful. And he says, George suggested, "Why don't we make an album?" And I said, "Well, sure." So I began, going through my old poems and writing new ones, and that's sort of what really kicked it off. That magical restaurant, Gypsy Sweetheart, that I had written so many years ago.
It's just a wonderful part of life now that we're middle age, that we find these new things that captivate us and energize us, these adventures. And a lot of times we don't realize how inward looking they are, because that's not our intent.
Right,
Our
exactly.
intent is probably more like an outward expression, but anyway,
Yeah.
it's starting to mist a little bit here on my laptop, so I might have to retreat and
Okay.
wish you all a wonderful celebration.
Okay, Michael. Thank you so much for being part of this. It is kind of mystical behind you. All right.
Okay, Richard, thanks again, and congratulations.